All right. Hey, everyone. I was sitting down to do a video today, and I was looking at the time, and I was looking at all of the stuff that I need to do for the March Content Challenge, and I thought, I'm not going to bother recording a big, long video and then spending an hour editing it. I'm just going to put this content out there, and if there's anyone around who wants to jump on and chat about whatever it is, then I'll get to those comments here, and then if not, whatever, we'll catch you in the comments later. So what is the plan to talk about today? One, I just want to talk about the channel briefly, just as updates. Two, I want to acknowledge all the folks that jumped into the content challenge for March. And then the main topic for today, I want to talk about the Ezoic speed tester, the Ezoic site speed accelerator. I had a whole video planned out. I actually started recording on this topic. I probably spent 2 hours already, and then I just dumped the whole thing, and I'm just going to do it live and whatever. So first, the channel, being on YouTube is a strange thing, and the fact that this channel just crossed 800 subscribers is sort of mind-boggling. So if you're one of those 800 who are watching this, thank you so much. I have no idea why you follow me, but I'm glad that you do. Next, the content challenge. The people so far, there are 8 of us that have jumped in, and all of them are making me look bad. Phil, Sean, David, Jazzy, and Chris have been with us before. I'm going to butcher some names, but Asim is new, and so far he says that he's going to do 50,000 words this month, and I haven't seen you update the spreadsheet yet, man. So if you're with us, jump in there and get in there. And then Jazzy is back again, which is awesome. Guys, let's get it. I am behind, but that is no surprise. And here I am on YouTube, not creating content, but that is why we are doing a live stream. All right, so I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm just going to jump into the site speed accelerator. So last week I got a wild hair. I go back and forth about this thing because I've heard some people say it's really awesome. Some people I respect say that it's great and you should use it and it's doing awesome things for them. And then other people have said, I don't know what the big deal is. You shouldn't use it. I used it myself and it didn't do good things. And I thought, okay, well, let's just find out. Let's just test it myself and see what happens. I posted a video a couple weeks ago about testing out a plugin to help with JavaScript. I didn't find that it did anything useful. I did a site test on GT metrics just to sort of see where the site rated, and it rated it not that great, D or an F as far as site speed. And basically the problem with my site is that it has display ads on it, and the display ads really slow things down. I don't do anything else as far as CDNs. I don't use Cloudflare yet. I don't do any of that stuff. I just have a really simple website and I do really simple things with it, and I use images. And so the site does not load that fast. So I decided that I would just go and try out the Ezoic site speed accelerator tester thing. And already being in Ezoic, it was a super easy thing to do. Now, if you don't have Ezoic and you aren't running ads with Ezoic, you can still use the site speed thing. They do a 7-day trial, and you don't have to put in your credit card or anything. You just go over there and get it all set up. And then if, you know, it's pretty easy once you're all set up to turn it on. And for me, I went over there and went ahead and turned it on in about 5 minutes. It literally took 5 minutes, probably less. And basically what they say they will do is the site speed accelerator will take your ratings on the Google page speed insights and take it to what, at 80 or 90. You know, they say, oh, you know, at least a 90 or whatever. And I haven't really used Google page speed insights at all. You know, I've done some random testing out of page speed with some of the other tools that are out there, Pingdom, GT metrics. You know, anytime somebody on a YouTube page recommends that you try this thing or whatever, I've tried it, and the site kind of bounces around as far as how well it performs based upon which site speed tester that I'm using, or with potentially the time of day or what my host is doing or whatever. For this case study that I'm using, SiteGround is my host, so I'm not using the slowest thing that's out there, but I'm also not using the premium super awesome host. I'm just using sort of the middle of the road host. And so I went over there, and before I turned it on, I went to Google Page Speed Insights and did a test. My desktop came up rated at an 85, and then the mobile version of, and this is for the home page. So desktop was rated 85, and then mobile was rated at about a 45 for the home page. And then I went and tested a random article, and just to see what it came up with before I switched over to the, before I turned the site speed thing on. Hey, Phil, how's it going? We're talking about the site speed, my site speed test, and I know this will be super thrilling to you because you really, really, really want to know how this worked out. You know how I love to test things. So I'm basically just going through the runaround about getting set up, and for the most part, my site just doesn't run super fast. And so then I went and I took the 2 or 3 minutes it took and I turned it on. And then I went back to Google Site Speed, the page speed insights, and I went ahead and immediately did a test again. And guess what? It didn't do anything right away as far as the page speed insights, right? 2 minutes later, I went over there and ran it, and it was the same or maybe worse, right? And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Well, as part of the setup for this, they have you clear the cache. And I was like, okay, well, maybe if I refresh it in 2 or 3 minutes after, I don't know, I'll just refresh it. And so that's what I did. I sat for a few minutes, and then I went back to the page speed insights page and refreshed it. And then the next time it was, I think, an 85 on the home page, and then it was a 97 when I refreshed it again. And basically this happened with a lot of the various pages, right? I would go through and run it the first time, and the first time it would run it badly. Sometimes as low as a 29 or an 11 or something. And the next time I would run it, it would be, in the 80s or 90s, and I was watching this and I started to get kind of excited. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, this tool really does what it is that they say that it does. I mean, but here's the thing, right? The first video that I recorded on this that no one is ever going to see, it was like, okay, this is a tool, it costs money, and the only reason to continue to use a tool and to pay to use a tool, even if it does good things for your site, is if you can establish some sort of positive ROI for using this tool. And so I thought, all right, well, instead of just recording a video right away saying, oh, hooray, this is awesome, everything is actually faster and my site is observably more awesome, I'm going to sit and watch this before I come out and say, yep, everybody should go and buy this. And so I sat on it. I just archived the video, and then I've been sitting and I've been watching my Google Analytics. And I've also been just going to GT Metrics or to Pingdom or just going elsewhere and just testing my site in other places other than the page speed insights, just to see how this play out. I also, in the meantime, was surfing the FatStacks community, the forum there, and there was some discussion about the Google Page Speed Insights and what this tool really is. And so it helped me learn about it, right? Because I really didn't know much about it. I just assumed that it was a speed tester, and it was actually testing the speed. I'm going over to the comments really quick. Philip, I know, is here. Marcus Allen, hey man, I will take a look at those messages here in a minute. And hey, Chris, we're talking about the Ezoic site speed indicator thing. So where was I? Oh yeah, I was testing it everywhere. And then basically the summary of it is Page Speed's Insight is not an actual tester of your speed. It's more of a theoretical thing. It looks at what your site is and then tests it gives you a result of what it thinks you should be able to do with the way that everything is and the way things are set up. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Well, theoretically, if my site is doing better with the Ezoic site speed accelerator on, I mean, what does it matter one way or another if this is theoretical or whatever? It should just be faster, right? Well, I ran this thing for 5 days, and after 5 days, I turned it off. And here's why. One, I couldn't find a single indicator across any other site, any other metric, anything that told me that my site was any faster than it was before. And in fact, some of the tests that I did on the various tools over the 4 or 5 days showed me that my site was actually slower. I don't know, you're like, how could this be, right? I mean, maybe I have something set up wrong. Like, I'm not somebody who likes to come out and just, crap on companies or crap on tools or whatever. I mean, it could be that I'm just not doing this correctly, right? I mean, I just might not be doing this right. But, all that aside, okay, one, I couldn't see any indicator from any other site speed tool aside from the theoretical test with the page speed insights that my site was supposed to be faster. Next, in Google Analytics, I went there and watched carefully every single day, and basically every single metric that Google analyzes as far as time on page, bounce rate, the number of visitors, all of those dropped day on day on day from the first day. Seriously, in 1 week's time, the the site's like percentage of traffic dropped 20% in 1 week. And so, I mean, that was why I couldn't go through and continue to run the thing on day 5. I turned it off. It's like literally everything looked worse. And I was hoping to see some sort of positive impact, right? Maybe the site was going faster, so that would mean that my bounce rate would go down because fewer people were bouncing back because they got tired of waiting, or maybe the time on page would increase, or something would be positive, right? That the site would rank better and there would be more visitors. But really what I got in return for this test was a 20% haircut. What the heck, right? It wasn't even worth it for me to continue to go through and get through the whole 7-day trial. Could this be something that maybe involves, indexing? Like I need to continue to sit around and wait for Google to take in these changes and then reward my site for it? I'm not going to pay for a month of this thing to find out. Like it is not worth it. What I wanted to see was the greens, right? The green lights, the green arrows going up. I turn this thing on. I subject my site to some sort of like positive thing. And then I just want to see improvement. And I literally saw not one single indicator aside from the page speed insights measurement that my site was any better. And that's the thing. If I think about what it is that Ezoic actually promises, I think what they promise only is that your site will get a good rating on page speed insights. I mean, do they really go and promise that all of these other metrics will get any better? I mean, it's just, well, I'm going to go over to the comments really quick. Chris says, hey, he says, yeah, did you see Brian Dean from Backlinko? He did a video this week claiming site speed has zero impact on rankings. I did not see that, but that I am going to go over there and check that out. And you have these back and forth. They say, oh, site speed is important to the Google, but then there are lots of sites that don't really have great speed metrics, and they do really well. I mean, the large sites that don't really load that fast have lots of traffic, and you think that those sites would get penalized and fall in the rankings for having slow sites, but that doesn't seem to be happening. Jesse said, I had a bad experience with the site speed tool as well. None of the images would load and people were bouncing immediately. I have seen that happen with other aspects of Ezoic's backend, like their caching plugin and others. So I just only run ads with them. Like I don't add on any of their other extras for the most part. And I will say that I'm an Ezoic affiliate. I think that for people who are in the 0 to 10,000 visitor range who can get into their program and can't apply for Mediavine, I think it's a great place to be. And I am super happy to be there. So this isn't me trashing the company at all. I'm happy to be an affiliate. I'm happy to show ads because this case study is right in there. It does way better than AdSense, and I'm not ready to go on to Mediavine or any other premium ad network. So I don't want anybody to say I'm trashing on them. I just didn't have a good experience with the site speed tool. And I guess if anybody from Ezoic is watching this and has some comments or some suggestions about how to actually use this tool correctly, I would be happy to hear your criticism or your comments because I would like to know what it is that I'm doing wrong. Earth Cruisin says, hey, I don't know that I've actually caught you on a live before. This is awesome. Thank you for being here. She says, I used Smush plugin and nothing improved in my site speed. When I did start squashing images, I did find that things started picking up and everything was just a bit quicker as far as loading, but to each their own. Stephen Cruz says, hey, has your site gone back up to where it was before? So the site before last week, before I decided to test the site speed tool, had gotten back to where it was before the haircut it got in January from the algorithm changes. And basically, I just lost all the ground that I made in January by testing the site speed tool. I took, it was, hopefully, once I turn this thing off and give it a week or two and things will get better, that is my hope, that it will just bounce back to where it was before. And my worry is that it will not. Jesse says, I learned not to obsess about page speed scores. It's improved my life. You know, ultimately, that's where I was before. And I think, but for all this chatter lately about the Ezoic site speed tool, I don't know that I would have worried about it too much because I'm running a premium theme. I'm not putting any extras on the page except for images and content. And so aside from ads, I'm really doing, I think, just about as much as I can aside from adding extra plugins. I mean, I'm sure there are more things that I can do as far as CDNs, and I'm going to explore that, but that stuff is sort of like over my head right now, and I have a lot more to learn. Phil says, it's the same as every mythical SEO thing that delivers an answer to the people. Sandbox, EAT, etc. None of this exists. It's just marketers spinning what people want to hear. Oh, amen, brother. Chris says, did your EPMV change in those 5 days when the site speed tool was on? It did change marginally and not for the better. I had actually been on an upswing. In February, if you will recall, I had this dip where everything sort of tanked over the period of 2 or 3 days. And I managed to get Ezoic on board to help me fix that. And they did that. And they were super helpful. The support was great. And so gradually over the past 2 weeks, I've just been on this climb, right? Like traffic has been going up. The ad rate, you know, the earnings have been going up basically day on day. And I was really excited. But the EPMV, so do I say that right? The EPMV, yeah, that's right. Did go down slightly. And then also, obviously, traffic fell 20% this week. So there were definitely fewer dollars earned this week. So I'm not, again, super thrilled about much of that. Phil says, I'm sure a battle-worn skeptic. I'm becoming one. I don't feel like I started out as one. I generally am fairly trusting person, and I want to believe that things are great and things work and happy, but whatever. I feel like I'm becoming more skeptical and more cynical. Philip says, we are due for an update on your AdSense site soon, aren't we? Yes, you are. But ultimately, I think that for folks that have been catching the content recently and caught the live from a few days ago, and with this one, I don't think that there's going to be anything groundbreaking in it. I had really hoped to be farther along this month than I am, and I can blame only myself for wanting to test out some new things and changing up some things, but that is how we learn. Let's see, I wanted to go back and check in with Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen says, hey, on Monday, he launched a new company. He says it will compete directly against Google AdSense. Can I contact you to show it to you? Sure, absolutely. Go ahead and Facebook Messenger is honestly the best way to get a hold of me because I don't have any sort of online website. I'm not selling anything. I don't have a company email, and I don't give out the email addresses or contact information for my case study website. So Facebook Messenger is a good place to find me, or you can message me in the comments of these videos and provide that info. I'm sure there will be a lot of people who will be interested in any sort of competitors to AdSense or to Ezoic, especially if they are good companies with high quality products. So I'm happy to check them out and test them out. By the way, my next door neighbor was a high-level employee in the income store thing in Lancaster. You know, it's a small world, and I think just with the internet and the rest, like 6 degrees of separation, I think that's probably got to be smaller, 4 to 5 degrees of separation anymore. Taking on the big G. Yeah. Steve says, I think over the long run, testing and experimenting only benefits us. I agree. It's like you feel almost like you're risking a lot, right? To test these things out because you have a site that is growing and you have an asset. And then by testing something new, you could be harming your asset and making it less valuable. So it's really hard to want to get out there and say, okay, I'm willing to harm this asset so I could go and learn. Phil says, yeah, Stephen Cruz, I love testing. I just want Amelia to do it for me. Haha. All right. Well, I'm sure what goes around will come around. And then one of these days, y'all will test something for me and give me some information that will help me not make some sort of gigantic mistake on a site. So that is about what I had planned to talk about today. I am happy to answer any sort of question in the comments or respond to any comments over there if anybody has one. Let's see. Marcus Allen says, if any, oh, there we go. Oh, crap. Somehow I accidentally, Marcus Allen put a message in here and I don't even know how to, I somehow marked it accidentally as spam, but he says, if anyone wants to help me with feedback, say the word, I am available on Skype. So if you're interested in testing out Marcus Allen, there it is. If anyone wants to help me with feedback, say the word, I'm available on Skype. So yeah, he is developing an AdSense competitor, and let us know more about it in the comments, or here in the chat or in the comments of this video. I'm sure many people like myself are interested in knowing more about it. Phil says, I see ads in people's images sometimes. Do you know what those are? Yes, I have read about them a bit, and I know what they are, but I don't feel competent enough to adequately teach or to represent about them. But it is something I can make a note on to come back and maybe make more content on about them. Phil says, are you going to test any other ads in the near future? Not to replace Ezoic, but there must be more monetizing. The answer is yes, but I like to stick with something for at least a handful of months or longer, depending, and so I can actually know one way or another whether or not I think it's a product that is good, something that I want to recommend, or something that I say, definitively yes, no, whatever. Let's see. Hi, how are you? What do you think about Brian Dean's new course, Grow Your Blog Fast? I haven't checked it out. And so while I think really highly of Brian Dean and the content he puts out, I mean, clearly he knows his stuff and he knows what he is doing. I just can't comment on his course because I haven't tried it. And in general, I try not to recommend or provide opinions beyond the scope of what it is that I have investigated. So if I'm doing just a global review, like here's me looking it up and here's what I know, I'll share that. And as far as courses go, like I'll look over them, but until I've actually been in it, I try not to say, yes, you should buy it, or no, you shouldn't buy it, until I've actually been through it. And so I don't feel comfortable commenting on it any further than from that. Phil says, I signed up for buy-sell ads this week. Haven't heard back. I haven't worked with buy-sell ads at all yet, but I would love to hear how, what your experience is like with them and how that works out. Let's see. Anything else, guys? It's been fun catching up. So far, there are 10 people on, and it makes me feel like I should stay here and just keep talking in the event that other people have comments. I would love to hear in the chat box. Basically, the summary of my Ezoic experience is that it was bad, and it didn't do good things for my site, and I am not thrilled with the site speed tool at all, and I am not going to use it until somebody can give me some more data about what or just prove to me why it is that it's something that I should invest in the future. Amelia, Marcus Allen says, Amelia, since I cannot see your websites, in 99% of the cases, Google's properties and Google Analytics significantly slow down sites. Yes, that has been my experience. I agree with you there. And then he says, also WordPress does the same, which is why he creates his own blog pages with good old HTML and PHP. That is awesome for you, man. I don't have that experience yet. That isn't something that I have ever done or know how to do. And honestly, it scares me a little when people start using a bunch of alphabetical letters and puts them in the order like HTML, because I don't know very much about doing that. I'm, basically the pretty uneducated keyboard warrior here. Question, how many visitors do you have to your blog, and have you tried AdSense arbitrage? I will just answer the second part of that question, and I have not tried AdSense arbitrage. At this point right now, I am focusing on organic Google traffic. I have what, 9 websites now, and mostly what I talk about on this channel is a case study that I started last year. So it's in the 11th month right now, and so it's not the only site that I have, but it is the one that I talk about the most. And this particular site has anywhere in a given month, depending on what I'm doing right now, has grown between 500 and 700 visitors in a month. And so far it's earning on Ezoic about $100 a month. And I've been experimenting mostly with John Dykstra's course that I bought last year and just the method that he teaches. I am experimenting with other methods on others of my various sites, but this is the one that I am most vocal about. As far as my total blogs and all of my websites and how many visitors I have across all of them in a given month, it's probably in the 100,000 to 150,000 visitor range. It's up in there. It goes up and down. I've had some sites that have done better or worse in the last 6 months because of the Google updating things. But right now I'm in the 100,000 visitors to 150,000 visitors a month range as far as all of my websites across the board. Let's see. Marcus says it's easy peasy. Easy peasy for you, man. I don't have that experience yet, and so it makes my eyes cross a little bit to think about it. Sean says, evening. Hey, man, how's it going? Here it is sunny and 2:45 in the afternoon, and it's probably one of the nicest days I have seen this year so far. Sean, I'm sure that you have so much more expertise than I do, and you will laugh at me for having done this, but I tried out the Ezoic site speed tester about a week ago, and I didn't like it. And I didn't think that it worked, and it actually, I think, hurt my site, and I'm sorry for having tested it. Although, you know, for the good of the order, right? For the good of the order for everyone else, I'm happy to have done it, but I only installed it on one site, and I will not put it on any other of my sites again until something dramatic happens to it, or somebody explains to me what it is that I did wrong. Steven says, have you thought about giving an income update like John does with Fat Stacks? You know, does anybody really want to hear how I made $100 over here and $6 over here and $20 over here and $1,000 over here? I mean, maybe. I think for the folks that are trying to sell courses, I think that is a really great thing to do consistently, because when you're selling stuff, I mean, people need to get to know you and know more about what it is that you're doing to finally get to the point where they develop enough trust to want to buy from you. While I'm in a position where I'm not trying to sell anything, and the only thing I'm really doing is trying to grow a YouTube channel, because I'd eventually like to monetize it, but also because the community is so cool and I get to talk to all of you folks. I mean, so for now, I'm not that interested in going out and saying, you know, here's my financial situation. That, to me, that's personal information, but I don't mind sharing it for my case studies because I think that part is valuable. But I don't think that at this point it is valuable for people to really know that this other site over here is doing this, that, or whatever. So anyway, Marcus says the one big thing to avoid is off-site linking. For example, if you use a free Google font, download it and host it yourself instead of linking remotely to it. That is good information. That is good to know. And if I go down that route, and maybe I should, right? Maybe that should be the next case study. I say, okay, I'm going to dump WordPress and I'm going to try out this other thing. And maybe if this case study, if I get bored with it or I need a new shiny object, that could be where I am headed next. Sean says, good attitude though. That's how you learn. Try stuff. I'm working on it, man, but I really hate to go to Google Analytics and see the red days, or the thumbs down days, or the arrows pointed down days. That kind of makes me mad at myself. I don't like it. Chris says, yes, one of the nicest days here in Vancouver. Yeah, I think the whole West Coast is just, everybody's just a little happier, even though we are surrounded by coronavirus basically everywhere we turn. Sean says, in all honesty, though, Ezoic seems to be getting a ton of stick right now because of slowing down domains and stuff. You know, I feel like last year and previously that was a lot of the chatter about Ezoic, but it seemed like recently that had been improving. A lot of people have been saying really great things about them and how they didn't feel that Ezoic necessarily slowed them down that much. But right now, I just have a bad taste in my mouth about this site speed tool. It kind of bums me out because I was excited about it. Sean says, are you far off from being able to apply for Mediavine? Honestly, had I not tested out this stupid tool, the answer would probably be yes, but it probably set me back a month unless things recover quickly. I think last month in my AdSense update, I thought that I would be 2 months away from being able to apply for Mediavine. And now I think I am probably 2 months away from being able to apply for Mediavine. So my hope is to be able at this point now to apply at the end of April. I'd really been hoping to be able to do it at the 12-month mark and to be able to say, okay, here's what I was able to do in 12 months, with this method and this style and this theory, but it didn't work out. Let's see. Phil says, at Sean Mars, I've never seen evidence of it. Probably the site speed tool working. My traffic took a slight increase when I joined them. Oh, talking about everything slowing it down. Ads in general, slow down sites, of course. Not sure Ezoic is worse than any others. I agree with that. I'm not sure that they're any worse than any others. I mean, there's just a dramatic hit as far as the burden of transferring the information back and forth. Phil says, I know 3 people personally on Mediavine. They all got lower RPM than I get on Ezoic. That is interesting because I've seen other people, and almost unanimously people say that they do better on Mediavine than they do on Ezoic. So I am curious to get over there and then see, and I guess it's going to depend on the site, right? It's going to depend on who your audience is and then what sort of content that you have and how that plays out. But I'm curious to see what it does for mine in particular. Let's see. Phil and Sean are talking about their stuff. Let's see. Steve says, I think that Mediavine and Ezoic calculate RPM differently. You might want to check to see that you're using and comparing the same calculations. Of course, because they're looking at per visitor versus per page view. And so that is definitely something that we'll want to be careful of when you're comparing, because it might not be necessarily apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Chris says, we all complain about Ezoic, but there aren't better alternatives unless you get accepted to Mediavine. I was rejected by Mediavine, and so I'm on Ezoic Premium and glad to have it despite the monthly cost. I've heard good things about Ezoic Premium for folks that have paid to go over there, and it's so far, okay, I'm not going to lie. The only other person I've heard talk about using Ezoic Premium is John Dykstra, and he loves to talk about it and says it's awesome. And I haven't talked to too many other people who are using Ezoic Premium off the top of my head, but I haven't heard anybody talk negatively about it so far. So we'll see how that plays out. Marcus Allen says, properly coded ads do not slow down sites. That is the big problem. Most ad code is littered with tracking scripts. Okay, I accept that. I accept that as truth. And I guess what I don't know how to do is to avoid that, how to be with an ad network that doesn't slow everything down and something that pays really well. So I'm super curious, and probably that's the room in the market, right? For someone to come out with an ad network that pays really well, that doesn't slow everybody down, and I imagine people would shift over there in droves if they could make that happen. So Phil says, I'm on premium and I can upgrade to the next bracket too if I want. And I don't know what any of that means aside from generally knowing about premium because I am not on Ezoic Premium. Whew, I feel like I have been talking nonstop for the last half an hour, and it turns out I have been because I've been on here for 33 minutes. We had, I think we topped out at about 10 or 11 people, which has made this a lot of fun, and seeing the movement in the comments and just the chatter over there. I just love seeing it. It's really fun, and I like seeing and learning from everybody because a lot of these folks who are in the comments over there, who are in the chat room, know a heck of a lot more than I do about this, and there's just so few of us in this community. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention that I had a really nice chat today with Richard Patey from richardpatey.com. And I have been trying to nail down Richard to chat with him. He was the guy who's, I think, started the Flipping Websites Facebook group, and he ended up selling that to alpha investors and then has just sort of gone off and doing his own thing right now. And I had a really fun chat with him today. We probably spoke for 2 hours just about buying and building websites and website investing and just I'd see where he is at, and I see him and like as a step that I would like to be looking forward in the next couple of years. And it was just really fun. But the thing is, the challenge is I'm going to have to figure out how to take that content for 2 hours worth of talking, like, just about random topics, and then finding a way to chop it up to actually make it worthwhile to post so that people actually understand what's going on and to have it be actually helpful. So I'm excited to get to that. Well, there is a lot going on in the live chat, and I hate to turn this off to cut you guys off, but I'm probably going to do that because guess what? I have a whole bunch of content to create. For some reason, I thought it would be a great idea to aim for 100,000 words in March. I don't know if I'm going to die trying to get there. Everybody else who's on board, for the most part, almost everybody, has come out the gate and is just cranking. Phil is at it, Sean is at it, David is at it, and Chris is at it, and so is Patricia. Patricia, when you pop on, if you catch this video, tell us a little bit about yourself. We haven't been introduced yet, but it would be nice to know more about you, especially if you're going to be in one of these challenges. It's just really great to get to know people and sort of what your story is and what it is that you are working on. Let's see, over in the chat box, I see Sean saying, Marcus Allen, did you make a thread on Reddit about your network a few days ago? And Mark says he did. Well, I haven't been over to Reddit. And hey, Sean, if you think it's worthwhile that any of us go and check out the Reddit thread or the Reddit group, I would be happy to see it because I would love to learn what it is that you are learning. I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit, but I don't mind going over there if it is valuable. Anything else? All right. Well, I think that is it. It's been 36 minutes, and I am so happy to connect with everyone over there in the chat box. If you are catching this later, go ahead and leave me a comment down below and let us know that you were here and that you caught it, and we will look forward to seeing everyone in the next one of these. All right. Take care.